Hello out there in video land. Let's just get our radio guys going. And we are live coming to you from downtown Niagara Falls on 4680Q Radio. Your city, your voice. My name is Paul K. Lemire. You know this guy over here.
Yes. How you doing?
Chris RIGAS. He just got a haircut for the show.
I did.
That is a good guess.
I'm
right
looking
there.
good.
You are looking good. And I'm going to tell you,
Fresh.
I've never had a guest get a haircut before they come on the show. This is the first.
I figure I'd look my best for you, Paul.
You're looking your best. And see, somebody said to me once, did you ever go to the barber? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I had no idea what he was talking because that isn't in my vocabulary, to be honest with you. Anyway, we're here today, April 4th. It's finally Friday. And today I have Chris in the studio for one reason.
The election.
To make me look better, too.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, to make me look better.
All right.
But we have a federal election coming up on the 28th, and there's a lot of jibber-jabber going on, back and forth. And what we have to do is get to the bottom of these candidates and see what's going to happen when April 28th rolls around. My thing to everybody is get out and vote. That's number one.
100%. Get out and vote.
Who you vote for, that's up to you. But we do need everybody to get out and vote. The more they get out and vote, the better. And from a conservative perspective, which is what we have,
yes,
I don't hide that at all.
Me neither.
We need a majority. Am I right about that?
We definitely need a majority, but we need everybody out there who wants some change to get out there and vote.
We have to have everybody get out there and vote. So we're going to get to that in a minute. First, I have to talk about my sponsors. And they are Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pizza on Victoria Avenue, Hamel Machine Company. They're my three sponsors. We thank them very much for sponsoring the show and for being such good corporate citizens in Niagara Falls and donating and helping out the community. And not to mention Chris here. He actually has a business, Old Fire Hall Restaurant in St. David's, we call it, but it's technically
Niagara on the Lake.
Niagara on the Lake, but we call it St. David's, right? And if you're ever out in that area there on York Road and what's that, 4 Mile Creek Road?
Yep.
Right on the corner there, Old Fire Hall Restaurant. Give it a check out. It's very, very good. Chris runs a good joint over there. But Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, listen, look at the weather here. It's time to get those snow tires off. It's time to get your car in there. Get your car checked out. You don't want it breaking down. It's not going to be that long before the kids are yelling at you to take them somewhere and do something in the nice weather. And the last thing you want to be is on the side of the road, broke down with a bunch of kids and your wife screaming at you.
And that's exactly what you don't want. 100%.
So what do? You go to Wild Bill's. You say, Wild Bill, Ken Hunter, please check out my car. And he's going to give you the free spring inspection, go through all your systems, throw your car on his diagnostic equipment, tell you if there's any error codes, fix them for you, get you out on the road. You're all set for summer, proactive. That's what you want to be. And if you happen to get in a wreck, take your car down there. He's got a full body shop, brings it in wreck, sends it out in showroom condition. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Support our sponsors because they support you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, but it does help us to get the show out there, and we need more people involved, and we need more people voting in that. So get out there, subscribe to the show, enjoy it, comment, give us thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know if there's going to be too many left-wing radicals watching the show today, but you never know. They want to know what we have to say.
Yeah, I'm maybe I've poked enough of them that they're going to listen in and say, "Oh, that Rigas, he's a nut job."
well, you know what they say? The people who like you, like about 75% of the people who like you tune in, but 100% of the people who hate you tune in.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Because
I try to get as many people that hate me as possible.
They want to say see what you're going to say next. That's the rule with talk radio. So anyway, there's no use fooling around here, right? Let's just start with the carnival. Art Carney Norton, and let's get him going. You call him Mark Carnage,
yes.
Proponent of China, governor of the Bank of England, Bank of Canada governor, the guy who signs the $20 bills, the guy who screwed Canada and Canadians. Does he even live in Canada?
He does now. But he started. Yeah, he was the guy who who was the primary complainant publicly about the convoy in Ottawa, about the protest. Now, this guy, he's the guy who advocated to seize everybody's bank accounts. This is the guy back who gave Freeland the idea that she could do that, right? He was a Bank of Canada guy. He had a big op-ed in the Toronto Sun, said you need to go after the finances. Then he was consulting, and at that time he was also consulting with the federal government about economic policy, which was a disaster, and COVID policy, COVID economic policy, which we're going to be paying for generations. But he was the guy who had suggested originally that it was okay to go after and freeze people's bank accounts who donated to the convoy, who may not even have gone to the protest or organized it or done whatever. And that's besides the point. Okay, so the protest itself was a protest. We've got protests all over the country right now, and who's out there? And they're taking over university campuses, and destroying property. That didn't happen in Ottawa, and they got trampled by horses and all that other stuff. And all they did was honk some horns, and that's fine. I get why the horn honking might have been annoying. Okay, especially for Mark in his penthouse over there in downtown Ottawa. But you advocated for banks to seize people's money.
Yeah.
And all they did was donate to a cause. They didn't even go there. They didn't even do any criminal activity. Now, what kind of a guy does that? Is that a guy that you want leading your country when he thinks that the government should be able to do that, freeze your bank account? Honestly, you think a guy who advocates for the freezing, he can, hey, listen, you don't agree with his politics? I'll freeze your bank account. You don't want to participate in a climate crisis pretend fantasy there? Oh, I'll freeze your bank account. You traveled too much this year. Guess what? You're not allowed to leave the country. We're revoking your passport if you can. Why? What would stop him from doing something like that if that's his philosophy? That he can seize people's bank accounts based on a difference of opinion.
Well, I remember that they raised probably $2 or $3 million in GoFundMe, right? For GoFundMe to help out the truckers, and it was to really basically get food there and help out everybody. And he froze that money, saying it was going to terrorism. He made the case these were terrorists.
Terrorists. But the protesters destroying property at universities are not terrorists. And they're actually not in support of actual terrorists. Like, they're actually supporting terrorists. So, like, I shake my head. People, I want everybody just to wake up. This guy is not someone that can be trusted to uphold the values that you hold dear in the country. He doesn't hold those values. He makes it seem like he does, but he doesn't. He doesn't. His actions. Believe his actions, not his words.
Yeah, and the guy is involved in a whack of scandals and cover-ups. What's it called? Blackstone or Black Path or something? What the hell's this thing? There's company.
What, his company was Brookfield.
Brookfield that stopped the pipeline, but yet he wants to build one in the States.
No, that's the so Brookfield. He stopped the pipeline. The Liberals did with C-69, the bill C-69.
That's right, C-69 is the one.
C-69, but they're buying up, like, his investment company has been investing in and buying up pipelines all across the globe. So, and in his book, he advocates for a green agenda that governments and investors should only be investing in green with a green perspective in mind. Okay, so but he's a hypocrite. He does it. He does the exact opposite. He invests in China. China's the biggest carbon producer in the world.
Yes.
Okay, they're building coal plants every other week. So, what is it that people need to understand about this guy? I don't understand why this message just seems to be ignored by them. They kind of obfuscate it. They think that, like, they try to cover it over. And I'm just looking at people. I'm like, why would you try to diminish or blur what he's actually for, unless you know that it's a bad thing? And you
don't care.
You don't care, and you don't want other people to know about it. Like, so I'm actually disappointed in a lot of people I just don't get how they can believe that this man has their best interests at heart. I haven't known an investment banker to ever have the interests of the common man in their mind, right? When they're
no, they're the worst. They're the worst bankers.
I mean,
they're going to steal every dollar from you they can. You see it happening with banks.
So this corporatization of the bank of investment, it's you've got BlackRock at 12.5 trillion dollars in assets. You've got Vanguard at 7 point whatever trillion. You got State Street at 3 trillion. Brookfield has a 1 trillion plus in investments. So what happens when the corporations, these aren't even corporations, they're investment corporations, right? What happens when the investment corporations become the economy, right? They're going to dictate to you what happens based on what they want.
Everything.
So
they're going to run the country.
And they're going to run the economy, and they get their piece, right? So you have to understand that these guys get returns on everything. So they get their 5% and their 10% or their 7%, whatever commissions off of any investment dollars that they receive, and any returns that they get for their clients. So what happens when these guys become the economy? What happens to your freedom? What happens to your? What if they decide that all of a sudden we can maximize profits, we can maximize returns because it's my profit. If we cut airline routes down in half, and we can charge more because people want to get places, they want to go on vacation, but they have less service. So what happens when they do that? And then let's say they get into privatization of bus routes, and they cut those down, and then they, whatever. I'm just grabbing some examples. I don't actually think that that's happening right now, but can it happen? Can it happen? We can charge more if we never build another refinery. We don't allow any more pipelines because we have the only pipelines that exist. We can get higher transit fees for the oil and the gas that goes through them. So people need to understand what the dangers are here, and this man is part of that. Okay, it's a push for corporatization of the entire economy. It's called managed capitalism, and the Chinese are great at it.
Well, we know he's hooked up with China.
Well, that's it. He actually, short of Trudeau saying he respects their basic dictatorship, this guy is the same. He feels the same way about China. He received a $278 billion loan back in, I think it was November of 2024. He went and while he's an economic advisor to Trudeau, okay, he did this. He went over there and secured. So why would China give him, or give Brookfield $278 billion, and Carney went and got it for him? So why would China give it to him unless they thought there was some kind of advantage for him? Not only that, but they financed Brookfield's acquisition of 2 towers in Hong Kong to the tune of about $700 billion. So, the guy owes China. He's compromised right there. He's been lobbying Chinese government for many, many reasons. And he's open to being lobbied by them. Now, why would you trade a relationship? And I'm not saying what's going on with us and the tariffs and all that stuff in the States down south is good. It's not. We need to deal with that. However, you think that this guy who would sell you out to the Chinese, for his own benefit, isn't going to sell you out somewhere else for his own benefit or his company's or his assets' benefit? And we don't even know what his assets are because he doesn't have to disclose them. But he moved his headquarters to New York from Toronto.
That's what I was just going to say. He moved it over to Toronto, of Canada.
Yeah. So, he was the chair. And by the way, he was the chairman of the board who signed the letter. So don't tell me that, the decision was made in January, because it wasn't. It was made in October of last year. Okay? It was in October of last year. So all you lefties out there who are maybe listening to me right now are saying, oh, no, he didn't move it. No, he was the chairman of the board when he moved.
There you go.
That's it.
That's fact.
100% fact. Look it up. You can find it. And don't find the one article that says, the actual decision wasn't made until January. No, that's wrong. He signed it. It's his signature on the letter. It was his guy. He was the guy chairing the meeting at the board meeting. It was him. So that's it.
So a lot of huge conflicts of interest with this guy.
I mean, he's conflicted. The guy's been sold. And look, everybody says, well, he was the Bank of Canada's thing. Well, during the thing, look, the Bank of Canada, the chairman of the Bank of Canada, and the chairman of the Bank of England, they advocate for certain policy, okay, but they don't set policy. They actually respond to the economic conditions of the day, and they may make suggestions to the sitting government of the day. But at the end of the day, it's up to the government to decide what economic action is actually taken. The bank sets rates as an independent body based on the economic indicators that they see. So Harper and Flaherty, Jim Flaherty, great finance minister, were the guys responsible for the recovery after the 2008 banking crisis, and the way we navigated it. And we came out pretty well out of that. Carney had very little or nothing to do with it. Okay, very little. And furthermore, how did he get into the Bank of Canada anyways? You know, his brother-in-law is Lord Rotherwaite in England. It's not some lightweight. He's a lord. You know, so you know, how did he get? He was a Harvard graduate, Oxford graduate, was in Goldman Sachs for 13 years, which he left to become vice chairman of the Bank of Canada. Did some stuff at the UN too, and became the vice chair of the Bank of Canada at some point, and then he became chairman of the board at the Bank of Canada. How did he get that job as the vice chair of the Bank of Canada? Who signed his recommendation letter? Who do you think? Lord Rotherwaite.
It wasn't me.
You know, a guy with royal family connections in the UK, in England, and sends him over here and says, well, this guy's a Harvard graduate, he's an economist, he's this and that, so you just stick him on the Bank of Canada vice chair. You know, give him a nice poshy little thing.
Well, he was governor of the Bank of England too for what, 6 or 7 years or something.
He was. After he left the Bank of Canada, he went to the Bank of England, okay, and proceeded to advise them to print money like crazy.
Ruin them.
Yeah, quantitative easing, which has ruined their economy as well.
Yeah.
They've had similar issues there, plus mass migration, which he's an advocate of, and the fact that he's got his top economic advisor, who he's hired, I think Weissman's his last name, wants to bring Canada's population to 100 million people by the end of the century. Can you imagine that? So that's 1 million people a year for the next, almost million, 700,000 a year for the next 70 years.
Yeah, 75 years, yeah.
Yeah. So figure out what that's going to do to your, can we keep pace?
Because thank God I won't be here.
That's what they're planning to do.
Well, it's not going to work.
Well, my kids and their grandkids are going to be here, right?
Yeah, that's the problem right there. So, when are you leaving down the road for people?
Well, that's it. So when I vote, and I don't know about, you know, I've seen some polling lately and whatever, but when I vote, I think about my kids, right? And what opportunities they're going to have. I'm 50 years old now, you know, that's fine. My opportunity time, you know, it's gone now. For me, it's about sailing into my end of my working years.
You're sailing into my territory.
Yeah, the end of my working years. Like that's how I think. But I really, when it comes to voting and what things we set up, I'm really while there are pressing issues that need to be addressed that take immediate effect, like this carbon tax thing, I really vote for policies that are going to affect the next 20 years, you know, and who's got those best policies in mind. And by far and away, you know, conservatives are the better choice when you think about that. We always advocate for low debt. We don't want to grow government. All those things that help opportunity. So the only opportunity that's existed over the last 10 years is if you want to become a government employee, because they've hired 300,000 of them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
At the federal level.
That's the only job you can get that pays over $100,000 a year.
Well, that's the only job. That's the only job sector that's growing.
Yeah.
So if you look at private sector job growth, it hasn't grown, but government job growth has. Now, how does that work? How is that sustainable? You can't sustain that, right? Not everybody can work for the government.
Nope. They want to, but they can't. So he's going to hit back hard on Trump by laying all these tariffs on him and everything else. I don't like that approach at all, but that's what he says he's going to do. We're going to hit him back hard and all this elbows up crap. I don't think that's the way to deal with Trump.
I don't think
you're going to lose if you do that.
so. Look, forget Trump. Let's take Trump out of the equation. Okay, let's
Okay.
say it's somebody else because they like to use Trump as a boogeyman, right?
True enough.
So let's take Trump out of the equation. So a foreign government lays tariffs on you, and
China?
and you do 20% of your GDP is trade with this particular country, and which is a $1 trillion trade relationship, by the way, GDP wise, for two-way. So you take this particular they put tariffs on some of your stuff that are going to affect primarily one or two sectors in your economy as far as growth goes. Now you still have a market of 42 million people, but your response is, even though you buy a ton of finished product from this country, is to put a tax on your own people by tariffing their products that coming in here. So you're actually proposing a tax, and you say you're going to be targeted by it, but who in the end pays? We pay. Okay, so what's the proper response here? The proper response is do nothing. Let them put all the tariffs they want, okay, and go and make a deal with them to get rid of all tariffs. Keep the tariffs you have in place. Maybe be targeted in one or two additional things. Like you can take. There's some action you can take that won't hurt your people, right? That is primarily export stuff. But in the end, they'll inflict enough pain on themselves that they'll want to get rid of it anyways. They'll stop the policy. What Trump or what their government is doing right now is they're trying to force us to the negotiating table, right, to get rid of other tariffs. And we should have been there anyways. We tried to negotiate free trade deals with Europe, with Asia, and with the U.S.
Australia.
Yeah, well, Asia is part of the Asians, right? So they're part of that CTTP or whatever, the Pacific Rim one that doesn't include China. And I hear people advocating for a free trade agreement with China, and I'm like, how can that be good?
Yeah.
But anyways, but they're not advocating for a complete free trade agreement with the U.S. So we need to drop all tariffs with the U.S. and do a EU type trade deal. Free flow of goods, free flow of people, and we get the benefits of existing in a market that is the largest economy in the world, 350 million people, or with us included in that market is 400 million.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? Largest economy, and we share a military is the most powerful on the planet. What I just want to know what the negative is there. Like I keep trying to figure out, like, why do we insist on keeping certain tariffs in place, okay, while at the same time demanding that we have free access to their market? So why are we so stupid?
It's an inferiority complex. That's what I think it is. It really is.
Like look, we can still be Canada. We're still gonna be Canadians. We still have our passport. We still have everything. But why not just enter into that kind of economic relationship? It doesn't make any sense. If you look at a map, it doesn't make any sense to try to. Okay, yeah, no, great. We need to trade with other countries too. Don't get me wrong, and we need to try to trade as much as we can with whomever we can. I get it. That's great. But to sit there and say, "Oh, let's just forget about our trade relationship." It's a $1 trillion trade relationship, 20% of your GDP. If that tap shuts off, this country is finished.
Yeah, I think that if the United States said, "Okay, we're not trading with Canada anymore," that's it. You're getting nothing. We'd be in trouble.
100% trouble.
We'd be in trouble. So the best thing would be is listen, President Trump. What about this? We don't charge you anything, and you don't charge us anything. We let stuff go back and forth, and Canadians would have an unfettered access to 350 million people.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think our country. I think we're talented people. I think we're smart. I think we would do very well in that situation.
Well, you know what? We've never been forced to compete. That's the problem. We can, but we've never been forced to. We've always had. We can only play this many Canadian songs. every industry has been protected.
Yeah.
And they would have been a lot better having to compete on the open market.
I think so. I think
because now we wouldn't be in this.
No, I think we would have done very well. I don't know. I think we would do very well. I just think I think Canadians as a whole, we're talented people, we're smart people.
Yeah.
I don't think that we would suffer in that kind of relationship. I think we would do very well. But so that's just one aspect of this whole Carney thing. But Carney is supposed to be an economist who knows what the economy is supposed to be doing, correct?
Well, he's supposed to be.
Right. So why is he now adopting Pierre's policies? All of a sudden,
yeah, he knows he's a plagiarist.
No, well, I mean, so Pierre's been advocating for the things that Carney's talking about for the last 4 or 5 years, while Carney was an advisor to Trudeau, by the way. Okay? Pierre's been very vocal about it. You can find it all over the place. The carbon tax, he was against it since its implementation, since the beginning. He's been saying the same things. You're going to drive up the price of groceries. You're going to drive up the price of gas. You're going to drive up the price of transportation. You're going to drive up the cost of living for families. It's going to drive, and he was right about all of it. Carney comes along and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, even though in my book Values, and even though I was advocating for a carbon tax for all these years, and I convinced Trudeau that one should exist, we're just going to take it off now." Yeah. And you need to trust us that we're going to keep it off.
And people are going, "Way to go, Carney! Look at already he's doing."
I mean, give me a break, will you?
Yeah, thank you, PP.
Yeah, no, exactly. Everybody needs to think. So when your grocery prices start to go down because the cost of transportation is going to be less.
Yes,
now,
it is.
And the carbon tax to heat 10,000 square foot or 15,000 square foot grocery store goes down in the wintertime, and your costs go down a little bit. You need to thank Pierre. Pierre's the guy who did it. He's the guy who made this about the carbon tax, made this election about the carbon tax. He's the guy who put that money back in your pocket. So when you go fill up your tank tomorrow and you say, "Well, geez, it's a lot cheaper. It's $20 cheaper than it was last week."
And was it you who said that even airline ticket prices might come down because of fuel costs?
They did come down. I know that for a fact.
There you go. Yeah, I thought it was you.
They did come down. Sure. If you're booking a flight going forward right now, it's about $100 to $200 cheaper than depending on what the price is. If it's a local flight to Florida that's $89, you're probably not going to see a reduction. Right, or $150 from or $250 from Toronto to wherever, you're probably not going to see a reduction. But if you're taking an international flight somewhere or you're booking one, it will go down.
Well, it's probably going to bring down the cost of cruises. The whole travel industry, works on oil prices and gas prices, fuel prices.
Well, it's going to bring down the cost of hotels. Now they don't. So in Canada, anyways,
right?
I don't know. I think they've been dropping their prices lately, anyways, because they're trying to get people to come out and stay lately. It's been a little bit rough, but it will drop the cost of living for everybody, and you need to thank Pierre for that. How do you thank him? Go give him a vote. The
best thank you I can think of.
He's the guy who did it, and other economic policies that he has that they're adopting now, the housing thing. Now, I wouldn't trust. If you're talking about housing, Mark Carney's the last guy I would trust on that. The
GST is going to come off of any houses under $1 million or something.
Well, that's Pierre's policy, right?
That's
of all new houses.
Yeah. And it was plagiarized by
Carney. Carney right away plagiarized the same thing.
Yeah.
But this housing thing, the investment on the housing. I honestly, first of all, they can't build that kind of housing every year. The most we've ever built, even in the biggest the biggest housing boom in the 2019 area there, we were only building maximum 200,000. We don't even have the trades workers to build.
Yeah, so I was just going to say
500,000 homes. Never mind getting approvals and all the other stuff. But then Carney said, "Well, government's going to get back into the business of building houses." Well, we built houses. The government got into building houses because you had all these young guys coming back from the war, and they had nowhere to stay, and there were a lot of houses there. But they didn't. The government actually just, I think, gave money, and these guys had to hire. There was a lot of immigration at that time too, so we had the skill, we had the trades here to build those houses. But Government should not be in the business of building houses. That's communist China's job. Communist China builds houses, right?
Yes.
They build houses for their people. We don't build houses. We let people buy and build their own. We don't have to pay for them. We don't have to give them the opportunity to own a home. We don't have to build the homes. We don't want tiny homes all over the place for young people starting out. They don't want tiny home. They want the same opportunity to have a home that you had. And I'm talking to the older generation. I'm talking to the boomers. I'm talking to your generation, Paul, because these are the people right now. And I'm not talking about you, but most of them right now are so scared of the orange guy bad down south that they are willing to vote for liberals just to poke him in the eye. To think that, because they think Carney's the guy to poke him in the eye, but he's not the guy to poke him in the eye.
No, okay. We're going to get the PP in a minute, right? I want to talk about him, but I got to get my second sponsor.
Go for it.
I mean, we only have an hour. We could do this for 4 hours.
Give me a 5-hour show, Paul.
Maybe we'll do that one day. That'd be fun. But my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Now, everybody loves a good pizza. And when I want to get a pizza, I go to Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. You know why? Because they're consistent. They make a good, consistent pizza using the Mancini family recipe for the dough and the crust. Been around for 40 years. They started the very first Pete's Pizza in St. Catharines. And they also know how to make a pizza there. They mix the mozzarella and brick cheese that they blend together with the sauce in the right ratios on the pizza, on that beautiful crust. But they're not a one-trick pony. They use all the freshest ingredients for everything they do. But they have great wings. They have great poutine. They have great steak and cheese poutine. Panzerotti. They have a full menu to satisfy you. No matter what you like, you're going to find it on their menu. It's like 3 pages when you fold it out. It's amazing what they do there. So how do you get this beautiful pizza? Well, you dial 905-374-2222. That's it. You got a pizza fresh to your door. They use Skip, they use Dash, they use all those. You can also order online, Pete'sPizzaVictoria.ca. And right now, they have a Wednesday party tray for $19.95, I believe it is, with 3 items. Can't go wrong. How can you beat that? Thursday wings, $9.49 a pound. Great prices, combos, you name it, they got it. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Support our sponsors because they support the show. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you there. Okay, so PP now. This is becoming a movement in Canada. Now, you got to remember, when we talk about a movement, we're not talking about New York, LA, Philadelphia, these cities that have more people in them than Canada has in the whole country.
Yeah.
We're talking about Oshawa, 6,500 people turned out. That is a huge number of a turnout for anyone. Surrey, BC, well, other than Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Surrey, BC, 5,500 people. Fredericton, 2,500. And PEI, 1,700. I don't even know if there's 4,000 people in PEI.
2 rallies in PEI. One was like 2,000, one was 1,700.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
These are the numbers that you saw when you saw some other guy down south doing rallies. Big numbers like this. And PP is getting them. So when I look at PP, I say, you know what? I don't care what these polls say. I like seeing people getting out and supporting him. And I'm seeing a lot of people come out. And I'm seeing maybe, I don't care what the polls say, the only poll that really is valuable is the one at the voting booth.
Correct.
I see a lot of people coming out, and I see a possible, if they get turnout, a majority win for PP. Am I off base here or what?
It's going to be tough. You got to convince there's a lot of undecideds out there still. Mm-hmm. They're waffling on this whole thing, whereas prior to Carney, they weren't. But at the end of the day, I think that Pierre is going to be able to swing the majority of that vote his way. Whether it's majority territory or not, that depends a lot on Toronto and Atlantic Canada, right?
Okay, that's fair.
So,
that's fair.
We'll see what happens there. I don't know. The polling is got them neck and neck across the country. Vote distribution is not really equal where it needs to be. So we'll see. I'm optimistic though, and I think that we can swing enough of the undecideds and get them to the polls for us, so that we get the majority. But we'll see. I'm very optimistic though.
Yeah, I know my cousin lives out in New Brunswick, And he said it's red there.
Yeah,
He said Glenn Botting. That's my cousin. He lives out in. Shout out to Glenn. But he does live in New Brunswick, and he says around here it's all red. He goes, these people. I don't know why. He goes but they vote red.
Yeah, I'm. I don't know why they were. See, that's the thing. So Carney came in, and then all of a sudden it just switched because of the 51st state talk, and people got scared. It was just trolling, and they got scared for whatever reason. I don't understand why Canadians are so afraid of something that can't happen. It can't happen. I know the Liberals keep trying to play like that. That's the boogeyman down. That's their boogeyman. They need him to get elected. If they don't have him in play as far as something to be scared of, to put the fear into the senior citizens in the country, they lose this election by a landslide. So what they've done is capitalize on the fear factor. For whatever reason, Canadians are afraid. We're very timid, afraid people of something that can never happen. The media told them to. The TV told them to be afraid. I don't understand, but that's it. So you got to talk. If you're my age or younger, and the Conservatives are winning the under 40s quite by quite a margin, and the reason is because the under 40s see what their opportunities are gone, right? So if you're under 40 and you're listening, or you're under 55 or under 60 and you're listening, and you know that things are bad, we need you to go and get your parents and your grandparents, talk to your grandparents and your parents, and tell them to vote for you. To vote for you, not for them. Tell them to vote for you. Give a vote to Pierre for you. It's your future. It's your kids' future. It's their grandchildren's future. If they want their grandchildren to have a safe society with opportunity, and to be able to own their own home, with a front yard and a backyard, and have their own kids play there, then you need to have a conversation with those people in your life, your aunts, your uncles, and you got to tell them, listen, I understand your fears, but you're not doing me any favors if you vote Liberal. You're actually going to hurt me. You're going to hurt my children. You're going to hurt your grandchildren. You're going to hurt your great grandchildren. If you and this, you wouldn't be lying to them. You're telling them the truth. We have doubled our debt, and we have not received any gain for it. There has been no growth in GDP per capita in this country for 10 years. Meanwhile, inflation is up 30% over that same 10 years. You today, as an individual, now the retired individual, your father, your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, they're not going to feel that because they're not in the workforce and they're not out there and they don't have the bills that you have. Okay. And they've got their retirement savings, and but even some retirees who don't have a pension, they're feeling it, but they have to vote for a conservative. You have to vote conservative so that opportunity is out there. The only way you keep inflation low and thing is you control your costs. Okay. You control your costs. Don't print money. Don't borrow it. Don't, make the cuts. Government has to be a little bit smaller. You have to make the tax cuts, get money flowing back into the system, and things will grow naturally. People will naturally grow wealthy. It takes some time for the ship to right itself. But we've seen how quickly it can happen with certain things. Carbon tax gets cut. Now all of a sudden it's $20 a week more. If you're filling up your tank once a week, it's $20 a week more in your pocket.
That's right.
Every week.
That's right.
Okay, that's $1,000 a year right there just from your gas in your car. Never mind the fact that you don't have to pay that carbon tax on your home heating anymore, which was whatever, $40 or $50 a month. So that's $1,500 in your pocket. And now when you go to buy your groceries, the upward cost pressures are no longer there because that carbon tax is gone. So your grocery prices will remain stable. Okay. So how much more is that in your pocket every month? That simple thing put in each individual's pocket, about $2,000 a year. Just that one single move.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. It's amazing.
It is amazing, right? So, and you have to understand that something like that is so important because, I've made this argument before on this show when I've come on before. Taxes, when you increase any tax, it's systemic. It's systemic inflationary pressure. And it's like a snowball. So if you have a small snowball and you roll that down the hill, it keeps gaining more snow. And the same thing happens with taxes. So you put a carbon tax on one thing, on fuel. Well, that increases not only your direct cost, which is your own gas and your own home heating, but it increases the price of the guy who trucks the vegetables from point A to the grocery store. The grocery store has to pay their carbon tax to heat their thing. All that stuff is built into the price of what you buy. Then that price, so your price of lettuce goes up. Okay, so on top of your increased fuel costs, your increased this, your price of lettuce goes up. Now you got a daughter or a son in karate or dance classes, and the teacher needs to make more money because they have the same cost pressures in their life. Plus, they have to heat dance studio, so the cost of your dance lessons and your karate lessons goes up. So that increases, and that takes away from the money you have available to do it. So now you can't spend as much in the restaurants. And the restaurant guy, he's got to put his prices up because all that stuff, that's me, right? All that stuff went up, right? All the vegetables and all the thing. Plus, he's got the carbon tax on the gas he uses to light his stove and thing. And then plus, he's got the cost of his own personal stuff. So now his restaurant price has to reflect all of that increase. So now you're there and you're going out for a meal and you're like, wow, how the heck is it so expensive? Well, I mean, and then you're like, wow, I can't do that. So now you can't go out as often. Now the restaurant guy's got to lay people off, and those people won't have a job to pay their carbon taxes, and then it runs through. And that's why we have the economic depression that we've had for the last 5 years to 10 years. We have had no GDP growth because people don't have the money to invest in the economy. You have to understand that taxes kill economies. Less tax, better. More tax, bad. That's all you need to know.
And that's basically the conservative mantra. That's their platform: lower taxes, fiscal responsibility, and then my other thing is tough on crime too. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you can't catch them really. You can't let the same guys out of jail. So the guy comes in, he does the crime, he breaks into someone's house, and then when you have the police telling you publicly, just leave the keys by the door, so that way they don't come into the house when they break in.
They just steal
your car because that's what they want. When you have cops making that statement publicly, your society is in trouble. I mean, you have to know that. You have to know your society is in trouble when the police go out on the thing and say, you know what, just leave the keys by the door. Listen, this is the police. They're supposed to be stopping these guys. But they can't because they stop them, they arrest them, they put them in jail, and they're out the next day. So we got smash and grabs. When have you seen... just locally, Penn Center, smash and grab.
Queen Street,
6,
Roberts,
7 guys.
they broke in there.
Yeah, yesterday night at the Legion in Chippewa.
Yeah, look at that.
Come on, people. This didn't happen in this country before, and I'll tell you, if you look at a violent crime graph, okay, violent crime, just go take a look up the statistics. Just go look. Harper gets in office. There's a steady decline in criminal behavior. Trudeau takes office, and there is a severe uptick very shortly after. Okay, and it coincides with a bunch of different things. Okay, degradation of services based on immigration, unfettered immigration, degradation of living conditions based on inflationary pressures and all that other stuff. Allowing criminals just to, rotating door, basically decriminalizing property crime. Like, that's basically what's happened because the police won't even come out for it anymore. Like, someone vandalizes your car or whatever, they don't even come out anymore. Like, you call them, we'll get there 5 hours, whatever, I heard of an occasion where there was 40 or 50 car windows a couple of months ago broken in a neighborhood not far from mine. That happened to me, actually. My wife's car her window got smashed many years ago, and they went through her car. So, I mean, this country didn't happen before, and it's happened because of this government. And in spite of all the things they think they're getting tough on, like guns it's a real buzz thing for elections. Hey, we're going to ban all the guns, and then everything's going to be good. All the mothers are like, oh, that's great, no problem. But you're not banning guns for criminals. You're banning them for legal gun owners who don't commit the crimes.
That's right. That's all it affects. It doesn't affect criminals. They're going to get guns. They're going to use them.
That's it. And they still get them. And now you don't have one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's the whole point. And listen, I'm not saying we should have a Wild West that should have shootouts kind of society. No. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if you can't be protected by the police or by the thing, and you have a family, what is it that you just want a criminal to be able to come in your house, hold you hostage if they wanted to? Because some of the people that we're letting into the country come from places that this is the norm.
Yeah, well, they're criminals,
right? Yeah, right. And exactly, because we're not vetting them.
No,
and we're giving them $1,800 a month and stipends and putting up in hotels and all the free dental stuff.
One of my shows, the amount of money they get from the government is crazy.
So I mean, I'm just saying, it's we need when Pierre talks about taking the country back, he's talking about bringing it back to 2008 when the crime was lower, the economy. Okay, yes, we had an international banking crisis, but you know what? We fared fairly well, and the economy grew afterwards, and it was doing okay even prior to that. It was we had a nicer society. Things have degraded to the point like you can't get a doctor nowadays. You can't get an MRI. You can't get a CAT scan. I mean, we used to have to wait before, but now we have to wait. I mean, I know people have their appointments like a year later.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's crazy.
It's insane, people. It's insane. And the point is you can't keep borrowing money to fund this stuff. You have to find savings in other areas, and you have to stimulate growth in your economy to generate revenues. You can't just generate revenues from higher taxes. Because that ends, right? It's a downward spiral.
Well, it is, because you can only grab so much from people, and then they don't have it.
It's right. Your economy suffers.
That's right.
So, and when you're talking about housing, I mean, like I was on that before. Brookfield owns 42,000 units in Canada right now. So we should have a law, and it's not Pierre's policy, but so Canada should have a law to ban these corporate real estate investment firms from owning over a certain amount of units. Because these massive guys, they can come in, buy up whole blocks of housing, and Brookfield is very interested, trust me, in getting a contract to build 500,000 homes in Canada. Because what they'll do is buy a whole bunch of land and they'll just put tiny homes on it, and you'll be living like the Stepford Wives. Everybody have the same house, same drive, no backyard, no nothing. They'll cram as many of them in a block that they can. And you'll be there, and you'll think you've got something. But their actual philosophy is you'll have less and be happy, right? So that'll be their government housing, right? They're going to give it to you for free. It's like communism. They're going to give it to you for free. Communism. Do you want to live like that? Honestly, come on, people. Do you want to live like that, or you want to be able to have a deck and look out at your backyard? Don't you want your kids to have that, or your grandkids to have that? You don't want them to have a deck. You don't want them to have a pool to jump in. You want them to go to a government-sanctioned pool and a thing and whatever. You want to be able to be told how many kilometers you drive your car. Like, let's be honest with you, because that's where it can go. I mean, China has a social credit system, and I fear any man. I actually fear Carney. I don't fear Trump. I don't fear anybody else, but I actually fear Carney. Why? Because this is the guy. He goes to the Bilderberg meetings. He goes to the WEF guy. He's one of the WEF globalists. He deals with China. He has mentioned recently about how China is leader in AI. Well, do you know what they use that AI for, Mr. Carney? They use it to control their population through a social credit system. Okay, they have facial recognition software. If you're not in good standing, or you have an outstanding parking ticket or whatever it is, you're not allowed to travel from one district to the next. They have gates and stuff set up, and police officers. You're not allowed to travel outside your district. Is that what you want for your children and grandchildren?
That's what it's coming to.
Well, I mean, this is the type of guy who wants these things. And I'm not saying this unseriously. I'm actually being very serious about this. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist or a wacko or whatever the heck it is you want to call me. I don't care. His record shows that he agrees with this type of stuff. He's actually saying it, but nobody's listening to what he's actually saying. I'm listening. I'm listening to the guy. He said he's an elitist. He's a globalist.
He's telling you.
He's telling you.
He don't care.
No. So, and this scares me. It doesn't scare me for me because you know what? I'm 50. Like I said, I'm 50. If I'm lucky, knock on wood, maybe I'll get another 35, 40 years on this planet, whatever. But it scares me for my children. It scares me for their children. I don't want people, and it scares me for all of you. I don't want people to live like that. I don't think we've never had that in the history of the world where, society didn't evolve and we didn't evolve as humans in Western civilization in that model. We didn't. We have a model. You say you love democracy and you love all the things about the country you live in. Well, we didn't evolve from that stuff. We evolved differently from freedom, from different policies. Yeah, we had some wars and we had some fights and we had some, but we evolved through all of that, not to finally submit to some kind of ultimate control vehicle where we don't have control of our own lives. It's crazy to think that we should vote for someone who actually thinks that that's the case. And he does. He's involved with these investment companies that the corporation wants to become the economy. Once that happens, corporation becomes the economy, then you're lost. That's it.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to get to my third sponsor. Then I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's pretty simple, really. My third sponsor, Hamel Machine Company. And, they've been around since 1948, serving large and small industry in Niagara Falls. And every industry needs a good machine shop because when something breaks and they need it fixed, they don't have time to ship out for a new part and wait 6 weeks. Time is money. Production goes down. They're losing money. So what do? They go to the small machine shop and say, Hamel, can you fix this for me? And they usually weld it up, or if they can't fix it, they can reverse engineer it from you from the sample that you bring in. They do lathing. They do custom fabricating, computer design, rebuilds and overalls, whatever you need. They do it all there. They'll take care of any problem you have with your industry, but they're not just for industry. They're for guys like me and Chris who want to gate across their backyard because guys are breaking into everything.
Yeah, that's it.
So what do? You go to Hamel and say, hey, Bob, I need a set of gates for my backyard. They'll design them, build them, get them powder coated, make them look nice for you. That's the kind of thing they do for us, the small guys, but they also work with the big guys. They work with cities, they work with regions. And what they do is they innovate and they make the job easier for people and quicker. They save companies money. Hamel Machine Company. That's who you want to go to if you have any problem with anything mechanical at your house. They're going to look at it and tell you whether they can fix it, re-engineer it. They have a 3D printer. They have water jet cutters. Anything you need to make whatever you need for your house, they've got it. So if you have a problem with anything metal and you need it fixed or re-engineered, the Hamel Machine Company is the place to go. They support the city. They support the show. Thank you so much for supporting the show, Hamel Machine Company. And tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. If you manage to go down there and talk to Bob, he's a great guy. And if you need a job and you want to get into machining and machine shops, go talk to him. He's a great guy, and he's looking for good people all the time. Now, I have a question for Chris.
All right.
And here's the one thing I noticed. I was watching a speech yesterday. There was tons of people there. You have sat down and talked to Pierre Polivier, right?
Yep.
Face to face.
Face to face.
He was in your restaurant.
Yes.
He had lunch.
Yes.
I find him to be a little bit robotic, and I wish he had like a better personality. He seems to be canned, but it could be just because he's on camera and he does have things he wants to talk about. What's he like one-on-one? Is he canned? Is he fun?
So all candidates are different when the stakes are higher. Okay, so they're much more guarded when they become the leader of a party or are running an election for the highest office in the land. So he has a particular set of parameters, I think, that he uses while he's out on the trail or in an election. And the reason being is doesn't want any deviation from message and doesn't want to doesn't want to maybe engage a person to a point where, let's say, I mean, no, I can't say that because he would be. I mean, he does in a personal type of way, but I'm trying to kind of put this in a different way. So all candidates are guarded, right? They have to be, because people will take one, if they're, especially if there may be a video around or whatever. They can splice and dice whatever it is you say for their political benefit. So you kind of stick to a message these days, and you have to be more guarded than you would have been, let's say, 10 years ago. I found that when I talked to Pierre when he came into the restaurant, I found him to be much more guarded than he was when I talked to him when he was running for leadership. Because I had met him before in Welland. When he was down for Welland. And when he was running for leadership, he was much more relaxed and free flowing and thing. Now I found that he's much more guarded. And I think it's just to protect the message. And all politicians are like that when they get to that particular.
Well, I know Doug Ford is pretty candid.
Yeah, but
he's like a pretty big mouth in that.
It depends. It depends on the situation too, right? If like I said, it depends on the situation. And trust me, Ford doesn't say anything publicly that he doesn't want to get out there.
So he's guarded too.
No. If you see something posted in the media about Ford being caught on a hot mic or whatever, no, Ford knew that was going to happen, and he did it. Right? He said it on purpose.
It's planned.
Okay, it's planned. It's not so, and it's all these guys do the same thing. Okay, so but it is. Look, when you're running, anything you say can be taken out of context. So I don't blame him for being guarded or robotic, or I do wish that his speeches weren't so kind of set in stone these days, because I think like I said, during the leadership, he was winging it. There was no prepared speech when he walked into a room. He didn't read from a piece of paper. He didn't have a stump speech. He was engaged on. He would take questions and respond to them right there on the spot, and he does to a certain extent now. But now he has the canned responses where he didn't back during the leadership race.
Yeah, right? When I see him in not in Queen's Park, but in Parliament, right? You watch the Parliament. He's hilarious.
No,
he's calling Dollywall the Maserati Marxist and everything else, but on the campaign trail, he seems a little bit robotic.
He is canned on a campaign trail. I said that's for a reason, but like I said, during leadership, good on his feet. Pierre is great on his feet. He's great. You saw that interview where you had the apple and the reporter was there. Pierre is fantastic on it. Very sharp, very quick-witted, very, very knowledgeable about a lot of different subjects. But like I said, right now he's constrained. I think his campaign team has told him, like, don't elaborate too much. Don't do, you know what I mean? And I think they got to let him go a little bit, because I think the people would appreciate getting to know just how sharp and how quick he is on his feet.
Well, I think he, if he could be just a little bit more huggable. I mean, friendly. He seems like, and I get it, because these days people take sound bites and they take them and use them against you. So, your talk has got to be on one path without making it so that somebody could just splice it and make you look like a goof. Because nothing's taken in context anymore. It's just taking sound bites.
I found him to be pretty friendly. I mean, like I said,
more of that.
I have to defer to the fact that he's running for something. Like I said, I found him to be pretty friendly then, and I found him to be more relaxed during leadership than he was.
Well, he was trying. He was trying, because he was talking to the one guy, the press guy there, when he was taking questions. And he was kind of going back and forth with him about something that had nothing to do with anything. So he was trying to strike that little bit of a rapport, friendliness that it showed through. I wish he would do that a bit more.
You know who is robotic and not friendly?
Carney.
Mark Carney.
Oh, he's terrible.
He's an arrogant.
He's like this tall.
Yeah, but he's arrogant.
You want to go up and give him a...
Have you seen the way he talks to people?
He's terrible.
No, he's arrogant. The arrogance just smells right through. Let's talk locally for a second here.
I want to talk about
Dollywall. Oh,
well, do you want to talk? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Dollywall for a minute.
I got Jimmy Dollywall
not much to
here
say there anyway.
and Maxime Bernier, two guys that I want to talk really quickly about. Let's go through them real quick.
All right.
Now, Jimmy, to me, is not going to get a seat. I don't even know if they're going to get party status. This guy is so far out. He has now come over and said he's going to get rid of the GST and he's going to get rid of the carbon tax. He had 3 chances to knock the government down and send it into an election, and he never did over the carbon tax. PP brought it up 3 times. He went with the Liberals. Now all of a sudden he's going to get rid of it. This guy's the biggest phony, the Maserati Marxist, the Raja of Rolex. I don't even. This guy's out.
I want everybody who is voting Liberal because Carney cut the tax to vote for Singh because he's going to cut taxes. So anybody who wants to vote Liberal because of the taxes, vote for Jimmy Dollywall instead. Or Jagmeet, just in case you don't know what his real name is. Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, Jagmeet Singh.
So yeah, you got all those voters who are abandoning the NDP, go back. That's all. That's it. You know what? Honestly, he's running his campaign from his basement. The NDP's broke, so there's not much to do.
Yeah, they're done. I don't think he's going to get party status.
It's doubtful. He made the biggest political error I've ever seen a politician make, and it wasn't of his own. I mean, it wasn't a gaffe or something like that. It was the fact that he would have been official opposition in December had he pulled the trigger on the election.
Yes, he would have been.
He would have been.
Yep, because Carney wouldn't have been around.
And he could have rode that gravy train for another 5 years, but no.
He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
No, he's not. But whatever, vote for him anyways. If you're going to vote Liberal, vote him instead.
Yeah, don't vote for Carney. Vote for him.
Yeah.
Maxime Bernier, well, the only thing about him that I can say is I like what he has to say. I like everything he has to say. But my thing about him is he disappears for 3 years, comes on the scene in the last 3 months and starts campaigning, and we don't know where he was. He's got a huge ego. If he was smart, he would join up and back Poilievre and make sure the Conservatives win this by a majority. But his ego won't let him, and he's not electable, not even in his own riding. And I don't know why he's running.
Glorified T-shirt, hat salesman. He's got to do that every 4 years in order to raise enough money to live for the next 3. That's why you only see him once every 4 years. So that's about it. If you're thinking about voting PPC, just vote for Pierre and be done with it. Just let this guy sail off into the sunset finally, and be done with it. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with Liberal governments all the rest of your life anyway. So
yeah, I love what he has to say, but you know what? No matter what he has to say or what he's going to do, if you don't get elected, you can't do him anyway. Let's hand it over to somebody who's electable, Pierre Poilievre, and get him elected, and we need a majority.
Well, he has the luxury of being able to say whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. He does, because he's a non-factor.
Yeah.
One more thing. I know you had a concern when you came in the studio here before the show started, and that was whether Tony Baldinelli can win in Niagara. And I said, well, Andrea Kaiser, come on, who's going to vote for her? You had some concerns.
Well, I have some concerns in the fact that not because I think that Tony's in any real trouble, but there are people out there who will vote for Liberals based on fear. That doesn't make any sense. So, and Tony's been a great representative here in Niagara.
He's been fantastic,
and I want to make sure that everybody understands that he went to bat for our wine industry, for our small businesses over the last 6 years. He has done more for this riding than any MP that I can think of in my lifetime. Anyways, I mean, Rob Nicholson was there. He did a lot, but as far as thing, but I as far as boots on the ground here, talking to businesses, representing their concerns at Parliament, I think Tony's been excellent. I mean, really, really good. If you just look him up on, his speeches in the House of Commons, and you'll see exactly what Tony's been doing for us. And he does it in a respectful way that he can work across the aisle if he needs to, and he has got stuff done for us here. Shaw Festival just got a $35 million grant from the thing, and Tony was a part of that. So we have a great representative in Tony Baldinelli. We're not going to do any better as far as an MP goes, and Andrea. I know her. I've talked to her in the past. She's a good person, but she's in the wrong party. And I'll tell you, her voting record at the region, she's a regional councillor for Niagara-on-the-Lake. She's voted for every tax increase. And if you want the numbers, I got them right here. If you want the numbers, so your regional taxes have gone up 7.6% in 2023, 7.6% in 2024, or sorry, 7% in 2024, and 9.6% in 2025. Okay, so that's a full 25% right there.
In 3 years.
In 3 years, 25% on your regional property taxes. She voted for it every single time. She voted for the budget. Your water rates are up 8.88% in 2023, 7.45% in 2024, 12.77% in 2025 from the region. Okay, that is another 26% increase, or 27% increase in the water in 3 years in your water bill. Okay, transit has gone up 2023, 7.5%, 2024, 5.57%, and 2025, 5.88%. Which is another 20% increase on transit, all voted for by Andrea. So what is she going to do when she goes to Parliament? She's a taxer. She's going to advocate for tax policies that increase your taxes. So if you're worried about a carbon tax being implemented that's going to drive up the cost of living or a different thing, she's going to be the person who's going to do that. Okay?
Tax and spend.
She will tax and spend us into oblivion.
Now, two other things I'm going to ask you real quick. We got a few more minutes. What happens if PP gets a minority?
PP gets in a minority? Well, I think the carbon tax stays gone forever. Okay, I think that's gone just because no party is going to try to push the Conservatives to re-implement a tax like that. So, and I think that he's still going to have. I think if the Conservatives get a minority, I think they're still going to have a lot of power to make changes somewhat in the way that Harper did in his second minority, in the way that his policies were able to be pushed through because people understood that it was good for them, and I think that people have on an economic kind of an economic idea that what Pierre is advocating for is actually good for them. I think everybody kind of understands that, right? So I think that Pierre pushing through his agenda won't be that difficult when it comes to housing or taxes or the size of government. I think Canadians will want him to do that kind of stuff. And criminality. He may have an issue with. So the gun ban isn't really legislation, right? So he may be able to undo some of that. There's certain things that will be touchy, right? But I think his major policy points, I think he'll be able to get them through.
And what happens if Carney gets a minority?
I think that we're deadlocked for a while because I think we're gonna. So if Carney gets a minority, we're going to be actually governed by the Bloc and the whatever remnants of the NDP exist. So if you want the Bloc or the NDP dictating policy as they have for a little bit, then I guess vote Liberal. But I don't know how anybody can ignore the past 10 years of non-economic growth, of crime, of just the stress. The food lineups at food banks are at an all-time high. You have 2 million people in the country using food banks. Food insecurity in a country that's supposed to be, a top GDP country in the world, G7. I mean, come on, people. Tent cities, we saw them. We see them. Like, I don't know. I all I can do is plead with people. Please don't vote liberal. No more liberals. You want this country to succeed and do well. No more liberals. I can't. I don't know how to ask anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, see, there you go.
Patience is on empty.
Yeah. Like, just don't vote liberal if you want things to get back to normal. Please.
Okay, and on that note, we're getting out of here. And I agree 100%, of course, with Chris. And my plea to everybody is to get out and vote. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Your City, Your Voice. Paul Kalem here with my guest, Chris Rigas. He's coming back in a couple of weeks, guaranteed, because we got to get him back in before the election to see what's changed between today and in 2 weeks from now, maybe a week before the election, we'll get you back in.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. God bless you all. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you get notifications when I drop another video. We'll see you on Monday, of course, with the City Council Agenda Review. Don't forget to support our sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pizza, not Pizza. It all sounds the same.
Yeah.
Pizza on Victoria Avenue and Hamel Machine Company. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday with the City Council Agenda Review. And Dave Wheeler will be in the house as usual. Take care. Bye. Say goodbye, Chris.
Bye-bye.